Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. Happy new moon, everyone.
Happy
Hello,
new
Alexis.
moon and happy lunar new year.
Lunar
Welcome
New
in the
Year.
year
It's
of the snake,
the wood
specifically
snake.
the wood snake.
Yeah.
Yes, which totally is on like it's you can already feel the
Yeah.
energy of that, just like rebirth, shedding old skin, old habits, anything you don't need, and moving more towards growth.
Yeah. And I'm really excited. I need to feel and also look more into this wood snake because I remember I was really on top of it not last year, but maybe two years ago. Yeah, last year was a rat, right?
I
Which
think it
I'm
was a dragon.
Oh, it was the dragon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. And then the year before it was the rabbit, which I really resonated with that. And so I know, like, I'm feeling with this snake energy, just like I don't really know about Chinese astrology, but what I feel with the snake, I feel like that dark feminine energy, which I've been
Yes.
feeling the past couple of weeks. So I'm like, ooh. So I want to look
Yes.
into more of that and kind of connect with it in however it comes through.
That
So
it's funny that you bring up the dark feminine because I had just brought this up to you a couple days ago that I had a goddess kind of come through to me, goddess Nyx, who is the personification of night, and I like felt it just kind of like creeping up behind me, like I'm really feeling this season and I'm really feeling this year. Like I know a lot of crazy stuff is happening, but I don't know. I can't help but be like optimistic. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I've been feeling this like weird. Yeah, it's very dualistic because it's like even in my personal moments of like, oh my God, shit's hitting the fan or I'm sick or whatever, like it's just stressful moments. And at the same time, like literally at the same time, I feel like this fire inside of me that is like really excited, almost like a little child. And I felt that kind of reflected in just like a really intense dream experience that I had today, even, which I'll share. And yeah, but I feel really, really, really good because there's just like, we feel there's something brewing.
There's something
Yeah.
brewing. I feel like we're on the precipice of just like a collective shift,
Oh yeah, yeah. And
if not
we'll be
already
talking
in
about
it.
that. Yeah, we're definitely in it. I would say like it's like there was like a tiptoeing and kind of like in and out and in and out, but a lot of us who are doing the quote unquote work and we're really getting in touch with our own inner selves and just yeah, we're already in that transition and we're in it's Aquarius season. I'm definitely going to be letting my freak flag fly for the next couple weeks. So we're doing this. Okay.
I love it. I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite seasons. Like every a lot of people I know are like, "Oh, January lasts forever. I hate January. Like I'm just ready for it to go like past." And I'm like, "I love January. It is one of my favorites and Aquarius season specifically because like my house where my moon is highlighted, so I'm feeling really connected with myself and I love the Aquarius season. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah. I love Aquarius moon. Like it's just, I really wish I could have that moon versus my Capricorn, but that's probably for another conversation.
So
Conversation.
you have the sun, you have the sun, and I feel
Yes.
like that is just as fun and weird and cool and
Definitely weird.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely weird. But yeah, so welcome in. Welcome to our innerverse, our and if you're here live with us, feel free to say hello in the chat. I'm trying not to be distracted by my cat scratching at the door. Um, so Alexis, do you want to go ahead and share with everyone what we're going to be doing in this episode? And I'm going to let Wednesday in real quick.
Yeah, sure. So tonight we're going to be talking about how our dream space has been over the last lunar cycle. So from the last new moon to this new moon, what our dream space has been like. If there were anything that was like specifically popping out to you, if you were journaling more frequently your dreams or not being able to remember your dreams at all. We're going to talk about how it's been affecting us, and hopefully anybody who's here with us will share how their last lunar cycle dream space has been.
Yeah, so feel free to share with us in the chat. And if you are watching or listening afterwards, feel free to share with us in the comment section. We love connecting with you guys. So we've already been talking a little bit about just the energy right now. We're fully in Aquarius season, like we're in the Aquarius lunar cycle, in the Aquarius solar season. And so we're just really feeling into this energy. And what Alexis and I have been doing the past two moon cycles is that we've been reflecting on the previous lunar cycle or just the past few weeks since that new moon. So we're going from new moon to new moon. And we're reflecting on, as you said, how our dream space has been. But I do want to just point out the energy that we're in right now, currently, the cosmic climate, as this week is really profound for dreams. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to chat with you guys on Monday, but Monday and Tuesday were really powerful because Mercury was building up to its alignment with Pluto in Aquarius. And I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling that and experiencing that connection in your dream space. And Alexis and I are definitely going to share on that because we had some really interesting dreams this week. And I want to also point to, of course, we're in the new moon. So today, actually, this morning was when the sun and moon met early in the morning. I would say it was around like 8 a.m. Eastern time. So you probably felt that in your dream space the night before or early this morning, if you're listening to this live or, when you're listening back. And then I want to point to another powerful day. And this is probably more powerful than this. I mean, actually, no, I can't compare because the new moon was like really intense because we have what moon, Pluto, Mercury, and the sun in
Sun. Yep.
Aquarius, right? So we have a stellium.
Mm-hmm.
We have a party in Aquarius. So I'm like, yay, we can all fly our freak flags. We're here. It's Aquarius season. But I also want to mention that on February 1st, Venus and Neptune will align in Pisces. So I'm just like, it's going to feel like such a dreamy day. Not only does Venus align with Neptune, but then she also will align with the North Node in Pisces and the moon in Pisces, right? So there's all this like very nebulous energy that we're going to be able to experience and just like feel into. And, if you're on top of your game, you can, dream incubate with this, or just even if you don't do it, do any dream incubation, you can even meditate with an
Mm-hmm.
intention on that day. Just do something very dreamy for yourself, I would say. So I'm really looking forward to that
You
energy.
know, it might be a good idea too, like you said, to meditate. Um, look when this placement is going to occur and do a guided astral projection or astral travel. Put a blindfold on, put headphones on, get comfortable, and really allow yourself to just be outside of yourself and travel. That might be a really good opportunity.
Yeah. And we'll more than likely start feeling this, the day before, probably the day after. And yeah, it's just a really good time to just like, I'm it just feels really sensational and sensual. And I'm calling this the rose colored glasses day or rose colored day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna be in Delulu. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm already like planning and
I know.
it's so
As
much
soon as
fun.
you started talking about it, my brain started going, and I was like, all right, how do I want to like make this day as beautiful and as perfect as possible for this placement. And I feel like too, I'm getting the sense just thinking about it that I'm probably gonna cry.
I know. Yeah, speaking of crying, I definitely felt that Mercury and Pluto energy where, yeah, and I think the moon had just moved into Aquarius too. So it was like Moon, Mercury, Pluto. And when I looked at the transits after I had like this huge, like emotional release, I mean, crying and wailing. And I had been feeling that probably since my birthday. Cause I don't know if I mentioned to you while I was there, but you could feel my energy. And I was like a
Oh
bit anxious.
yeah.
It was like there was like a
Mhm.
ball in me and I wanted to cry, but I just like I hadn't gotten there yet. And I finally had the moment where I had some aspect of privacy, and it was just like the moon and Pluto and Mercury just like literally opened the floodgates, and it was like, and it felt
I
so good
love it.
though.
I
It felt
love
so
when you
good.
have releases that strong and powerful because it's almost like in a way shedding a skin. Like you're shedding something and kind of refreshed and
Yeah.
you no longer have this weight, this like you said ball inside of you just waiting to be let go of. That's really I feel like I definitely need that soon.
Yeah, I'm wishing that for you because it felt I felt lighter and I just knew I had more energetic space within me. So Ashes to Ashes is here. Thank you for being here. Ashes to Ashes says peace and love, dream warriors, with the prayer hand. So welcome. Thank you for saying hello in the chat. And we would love to know how your dream space has been over the past 28 days, 28, 29 days. So here we are. And like we said, we're going to go back to December 30th, which was the Capricorn new moon. And that was like what I was feeling with that moon. That was a rough, well, I mean, yeah, we're just completing that lunar cycle. I was like, that was a rough lunar cycle. I'm thinking about Capricorn season, but then also like thinking about the lunar cycle. I'm just like, whew, that was a lot. And I remember we started the lunar cycle, Alexis, with like one dream from the previous cycle. So, oh, did you freeze? I feel like are you here, Alexis? Uh-oh, I think we lost Alexis. Maybe Alexis will come back, but I'll keep going. Alexis and I were sharing our dreams and we were reflecting on Sagittarius lunar cycle and we're like, oh my gosh, we only literally wrote one dream. It had been a challenge to um, connect to our dreams and to really write them, right? Because it was like I feel in the during that season in December, right? There's Christmas and then you have New Year's that you're preparing for. There's a lot of, commitments and meetings and engagements. And so it's really hard to, really have that moment to yourself to connect and reflect on your dreams, right? Because you're getting up and going and there's just so much going on. So I know both of us have had challenges with that in the previous cycle. And so I feel I can speak for Alexis on this because we've been talking about it pretty much regularly that we've gotten better with writing our dreams, with recording them. We've definitely gotten better with sharing them. And at the same time, we have like it's moving really, really slowly. And so I know we have some good dreams to share. And if you want to just pop anything in the chat just to share like, how your dream space has been, or if you had like a dream that you can put in the chat or a theme that was coming up for you, definitely share with us. And hopefully, Alexis will be back here very soon. So Ashes to Ashes says, yeah, lots of past loves coming into dream space recently, emotional, but I've also recently stopped drugs. So memory has been bubbling back like a rising tide so that it's coupled with it maybe. Interesting. So I'm curious, Ashes to Ashes, is your past lovers coming in your life in your dreams? Is that normal? I know personally for me, that's something that always happens and it's quite annoying. Um, but I tend to have most of the people in my dreams are people that I know. It's rarely anyone that I don't know. And I remember when Alexis and I were we were facilitating a lucid dream circle. We were doing, or personally, I was definitely putting a lot of focus into lucid dreaming. Alexis it happens with her naturally. And so it's not as much work for her, I feel. And for me, that was the main thing that I wanted to address. I was like, okay, there are so many people in my dreams that like I know, and a lot of them are ex-boyfriends, right? And there was one in particular that there was I needed closure with. And I'm like, why do you keep, showing up in my dreams? And a lot of people, or I know I've read in many places that, it's like, oh, your ex-boyfriend shows up in your dreams, like they're thinking about you or, whatever. So I'm like, is this true? And I want to like have a conversation. And so I was able to engage, or I tried to engage with my this particular ex. And I remember when I just couldn't get to him in the dream. I was finally lucid. I'm like, oh, he's here. I'm lucid. Okay, I'm gonna talk to him and see like what's going on. Like, why are you here? Why do you keep popping up in my dream? And I couldn't get to him. And what I felt was that he was like an avatar. And at one point in the dream, because every time I tried to get to him, he was just out of reach, or he popped up somewhere else, and I would go over there and he was somewhere else. And then I just gave up in the dream. And I then, just asked the dream to show me what's important right now. And the whole dream scene changed. I like walked away from that particular scene as well. Like I just started walking through a neighborhood and everything changed. And when I woke up, one of the messages that came through was like, that doesn't matter. Like I need to finally let go of that. Like he definitely was an avatar, and through connecting or wanting or trying to engage with others in my dreams, people that I know, they usually are not that person. It has only been the only time that's happened where it's actually been the spirit and the energy of the person that's presented in my dreams has been my grandmother. Everyone else is like an avatar. Like I'll talk to them and then I'm just kind of like confused, and I'm like, wow, this isn't you. Like, this is just like, so it's really interesting. So I'm curious if you've had any experiences, talking to any of these past loves in your dream, if you've ever gotten to that point. So I'm just following up with Ashes to Ashes says there's one that may always be in them at this point. Made me believe in the multiverse pretty much because they are so vivid, and maybe I want those realities. The other two, it has been rare to see them. So since they have been showing up now, it's intriguing, and they are weighty and spanning long periods of the dream space. Looks like never ending story when Bastion is in school attic reading Alexis, LOL. So, oh, that's what, okay, they're talking about you. Yes, if you could see the video version of this, I highly, recommend it because this is gold. This is amazing. Um, yeah, so that's
I've
interesting.
been about visitation dreams, and I just told someone I was talking to the other day that um, even though we did a two-parter not that long ago, I feel like we could do a continuation of those kinds of
Oh
dreams
yeah,
because they happen often.
they really do. Jace is here. Jace says hi, good evening. Or Jace says good evening, all. I'm saying hi, Jace. Jen's here. Hello, Jen. Welcome. So glad you're here. Jen said, I've had quite a few vivid dreams. I had dreams about both types of surgeries that are options. So this is like what Jen is experiencing in waking life, and it's starting to, of course, reflect in the dream space. I'm hoping that you're able to get some support and guidance from your dreams in this process, Jen. Jen saying, I need to start writing down my dreams. People were in my dreams, but can't remember detail. Yeah. Yeah, and just have grace with recording your dreams, because as I mentioned this too, Alexis, when you dropped out, how in the previous lunar cycle when we were reflecting at the Capricorn new moon, we like only had one dream to share, and actually it was the dream we both had the dream on the same day, the one dream that we recorded. And now this lunar cycle that we're, reflecting on, we've gotten better. We're not like fully there yet, but we definitely we've at least been sharing with one another pretty consistently. So yeah, it waxes and wanes for sure.
It does wax and it has a lot to do with, I'm noticing now the cycle where in the like period of time in the year where like either you're resting or you're more active or you're more introspective or you're more like dissociative, and like how that plays a role in the way the dream space is, but also how your resistance or lack thereof to recording is that during that period.
Yeah. Jay says, my dreams are always strange. Recently, they have been focused on buildings being fixed up. And yes, also Jace is just commenting about people in the dreams. I've had talks with past people, and like you said, they're all like they are like a shell. Yeah, they're like a shell, an avatar.
Jace,
Yeah,
it's that dreams about building like houses up. When we think about what houses are represent in a dream, one of the ways you can look at it is the house being like a representation of yourself. And I feel like with building up that house, it could be a representation of like growing and like becoming more aligned with who you're supposed to be in your waking life, and it's showing in your dreaming life.
yeah, I feel that. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into sharing our dreams. Like we'll start with you. How has your dream space been since, December 30th?
So this cycle has been extremely active. Um, it's been a mixture of humor, comfort, deep introspection, and very loud and clear messages. Some of the biggest messages that have come through are letting go of control and resistance, allowing more connection with my inner child to help like me heal and grow, and paying close attention to small details. Some of the small details in my dreams, like in dreams specifically, and some examples I have from a recent dream that I had, not last night, but the night before, were like Pisces signs on one of the journals I was looking at, or like a pot of soup and flowers left behind in a booth that I was sitting at with another family. And, just these little details that may not seem significant play a bigger role than you think, and you kind of have to do a little bit of a deep dive on your on all the little details that you pick up in the dream space. But yeah, my dream space has been extremely active. I was able to record 5 dreams this cycle, and they were very interesting to say the least.
Nice. Do you want to share like a dream, or were you planning on sharing any of your dreams?
Yeah, you know what? I'll share the 2 dreams I had Monday and Tuesday, since you brought up how that was a significant period for the dream space. The first dream I had Sunday night into Monday night, I was at an outdoor flea market, a lot of thrift stores. I was walking around with family and friends and kind of kept getting split up and then re-emerging with them. I noticed that I was really intrigued with the clothing that was in these spaces. And in between, like just kind of shopping, there were minor conflicts between like dream people that I would like kind of like eavesdrop in on and then continue my search for whatever I was looking for. This was occurring at night. And while I was just walking around trying to enjoy myself, I kept feeling this presence chasing me and um, getting closer and closer. But before they could ever reach me, I would move away and escape. Towards the end of the dream, I was trying to break into a type of, it was like a merge between a college university type thing and a like funeral home. Like it felt very I don't even know how to describe it. It was just very interesting. And I remember that I broke in and I was purposely trying, like I was writing a letter, and it was a very important letter. But while I was trying to write it, I couldn't get it to the right font. I couldn't get it to stay the right color. I couldn't get it to stay the right size. Like every time I was trying to fix it so it was appropriate for what I wanted to submit it for, it just kept kind of getting messed up. So that was the first dream. Very, I feel like it makes sense to me because, and that one in particular, I felt like had a lot to do with letting go of control and resistance and fear, especially with trying to make like this font and the letters and everything perfect and not being able to. It really felt like I needed to let go of control, which is something I feel like I've been having issues with. And my tarot pool the next morning talked about needing to let go of control immediately. And I was like, "Whoa, well, couldn't be more clear." Like, I mean, my clear. And then the dream that I had Monday night into Tuesday night, um, I had gone into this restaurant. I know that I was in the rush for something. I was trying to get a meal and leave. The restaurant was really, really big. It was on an angle. So where you walked in was the bottom of the restaurant, and then it was a steep angle up. And it was booths. It was dark woods and reds. It kind of almost felt like a Ruby Tuesdays type of like energy, but more dinery. And I walked in, there was this huge screen where you would um, place your order, but it was completely white, and I couldn't use it. The person behind me who worked there was asking if I needed a seat or what I was looking for, and I basically was like, no, that's fine. And then I left, and then I merged into me going back into the restaurant right after that. And I walked up the booths and I was looking at the people who were sitting there, and I found this one family. It seems like it was a grandmother and a grandfather with a like a, maybe like a 7-year-old child. And I joined them. And I don't remember what they were talking about, but I knew that it was a really enjoyable experience. I felt really at home. They got up to leave, and I noticed that, and this is where some of those little details came in. I noticed that the older woman left a pot of soup and a bouquet of flowers next to her, and I picked those up, and because they had already like started leaving, and I went to go and run to them to give them their stuff, and I watched them walk out the restaurant. And when I got to the door to go, give them the stuff, I started being accused of stealing, and I was being yelled at, and I ran, and I was hiding, and I waited until it like cooled down, and then I walked up the side of the restaurant, which was indoors, and it was set up almost like a shop. And I was walking, and it was very crowded. I was walking, and I was kind of like paying attention to who was looking at me because I didn't want to be caught. And I got to a rack, like one of those spinning wire racks, and I saw there was a journal, and there was the Pisces symbol on the journal. And I like kind of spun the rack around and then started walking towards more of the back of the restaurant, where a huge bookshelf. It was like a beautiful dark wood or dark stained wood, thick. You just like knew that it was well crafted and well made. And from floor to ceiling, there were books and journals. And I remember I was looking, and none of the journals really stuck out to me. And I knew what I was looking for, even though I didn't know what I was looking for. And right when I started really like diving deep into trying to find what I was looking for, I heard people yelling like, "Get her! Get her!" And I started running away, and then I woke up. So those were the two dreams I had, Sunday night into Monday and Monday night into Tuesday. And again, I feel like they were pretty clear. Um, and I know when we talked about the journals, that really brought to perspective those aspects, and it really made like my insight of what happened clear. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just hearing it again, what stood out to me, of course, I'm like, the journals, the library, I mean, it's probably not a library, but it's taken me to Discovery of Witches in that like very beautiful old library. Oh my goodness. Anyways, but the journal with the Pisces symbol, and as we spoke about all this Pisces energy, and you had that dream before I like even we even talked about this weekend. And I mean, I feel like I'm drawn to that, right? Because it's like seeing like that type of symbolism is something that obviously as an astrologer that speaks to me. I know you're studying astrology, you're connected with all of that, and so I feel that, and Pisces season is right around the corner. And of course, we have Venus aligning with the North Node, and there's just like a lot to explore there in waking life and also um in your dream space in the astral. And I can see, just like when you mentioned the other dream, and I like that they're like sequence, even though they might not be directly connected, or maybe they are, but I feel this energy of like creating. And with the journaling, it's especially because the type of journaling that you do is very, very creative, with your artwork. Like I've seen, if you've seen Alexis journals, you have inspired me to be more artsy. Like, cause I have some stickers in mine and I like sometimes I'll draw things, but I mean, I loved looking at, I didn't even go through all of it, but I just saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, but it's very personal. So I'm not going to sit here and just like go from page to page, but it's really unique and so personal and so creative and inspiring. And it's like that kind of energy it brings to life what it is that you're writing, and you are, narrating and exploring your spiritual journey through your writing, through your art. And just so that feels very Pisces to me. And just, being in a bookstore, or like not a bookstore, but just being in a place where there are books like from floor to ceiling. And it's just the vibe of it feels very, yeah, it just feels like this deep creative connection, that is so expansive and it's otherworldly in a sense.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And even just think like when we talked about the journals and the books and then to actually indulge in them, you had mentioned that it was almost like there was something I wasn't things I'm not ready to dive into yet, but are like at my fingertips. And I'm feeling as though working on my shadow, like integrating my shadow, is the key to reaching that hidden knowledge. And when it comes to that, I want to bring it right back to that Pisces sign on the journal. To me, that almost represented, because my Saturn is in return. My Saturn is in Pisces, and it is making its return on February 22nd, which is a portal day, 222. And
Yeah.
I it's reminding me, it's prepping me like I'm right there, and this is like a very important time for me to really pay attention.
Yeah. I love that. I didn't even, yeah. And it's funny, I was actually looking at your birth chart and the transits today, and I was like, oh yeah, her like Saturn's about did you already have like Saturn return and then it retrograde and it's coming back?
I
Like I
don't
think
know.
that happened. Yeah, I think this is the third. So I'm pretty sure. I don't, yeah, I had, oh,
My
okay. We just got this done.
I would have to look back.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll look too, because I was like curious about that. So that'll be interesting if that did occur, because this is like the final, like pulling it all together, closing that loop for whatever, closing that experience for whatever um Saturn return means for you. Because like when people tend to have those returns with retrograde, it's interesting. You get three like experiences with that. Like you get the initial, which is usually the most intense. Then it comes back around with retrograde, where it's like the illumination. You're like, okay, I can see it. I can pinpoint this. And then when it comes back around, when the planet's direct, it's like you're finally like you're anchoring in and stabilizing that. So it could be a little bit intense, but you know, it's also really good because you really get to thoroughly experience it and like integrate it. So
Oh, for like, I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, but I have a very strong, like wound with my spirituality, and I almost feel like with the Saturn and Pisces, it was like me working through that, and this last one just feels like the end of this particular period of struggles through it.
I can see that. Yeah, so definitely, you know, people listening, those of you listening, pay attention to those symbols, like especially when I would say, you know, the astrology would be considered like an archetypal symbol, which is there's like a spirit or like an essence about it. Like it's really big energy, so to speak, if I can put it in those words. It's just like it has a very like it hits deeper, and that's why I really love when, you know, symbol, and we get that with animals and, you know, different things like that. So I love, but like, I feel like astrology is like very unique, and it's like, hey, pay attention, especially if you're, you know, in on your spiritual journey and you connect with
Oh,
that already.
for understood or experienced.
Yeah.
So, how about
Awesome.
you? How has you?
Yeah, my I don't know how many dreams. Let's actually see how many dreams I've written. It's probably like 3. Since that very first. I was really excited. I think it was literally on December 30th. I was like, I wrote something because it was just like a dry season in my journal, my dream journal. And let us see. Yeah, so that's one. And I'm sorry, I should have did this ahead of time. Um, yeah, literally. Oh, wait a minute. Three dreams. But my dream space, you know, it has been vivid. There's been a lot going on, as you know, this month is like after the first of the year, then it's my birthday and like and it was a big one for me. And so yeah, it was just I was busy and the dreams were vivid. I feel like mornings, I'm just this time of year, and a lot of you in Northern Hemisphere can relate. Like it's hard to like get up with gusto in the winter because like everything's just so nestled and cozy, and it's like we just want to rest and sleep all day. Like we just want to stay warm. We don't want to go out in the world. Like it's the season of rest and stillness. Like what are you doing? And so I and so I would, you know, it was hard for me to get up and rest. But I'll say now at this point, as of the past 3 days, I finally found my routine, which is I get up before my child, like, you know, even on the weekends. I did this on Sunday. So it's like I'm doing it even on the weekends. And I get up and I do short amount of time of yoga, like 10-15 minutes, and then I sit and I journal, right? My dreams. And I am also being very gracious with myself, and it's like you don't have to write the whole dream. Like just write, you know, because I think that's what is a block for me, is that I want to write everything and then I'm writing for an hour and it's like 10 pages. It's like write, you know, the most profound thing from the dream, unless I have time, right? Then I can sit and write all day long, but write the most profound thing, because naturally when I go back and read it, everything's going to come back. So like that's been my dream space, and there's been a range of dreams. Anxious, like everything's been vivid. Anxious, I even had a potential nightmare this morning, and you know, I've had some really good dreams. I'm thinking, I don't know if I've had any like very profound, like, oh, actually I feel like I had a precognitive moment, which I'm going to share, or precognitive dream. So I'm sharing 2 dreams as well, and they were sequenced. They were one after the other, like as far as day. And this was in the first one was on the 28th, or no, the 27th. I didn't write it, but I remember it. And then the one that I wrote was the 28th. So the one on the 27th was basically it was borderline nightmare. It could have been, but it was more anxious. And what was going on at some point in the dream is that I was in this house, And it was kind of like a community house type thing. Where it almost didn't feel like the rooms that I was in, it was like it was my room and I think I shared it with another person, but it was also seemed like it was some sort of building. So it was weird. It wasn't like a homey home, but it was also it felt home, like home. It was really weird too. It's weird to explain, but so there were things going down like in our area, like it felt like in the country, whatever was going on. But it was like basically people were coming to people's homes and sorry, hopefully this isn't a trigger, so trigger warning, but they were like killing people, right? They were coming into their homes and like murdering them. And it was okay because it was like an order from like the authorities, the powers that be. And so it was time where they came to where I was and we were trying to find a place to hide. And, some people were successful with hiding and whatnot, but like we weren't. Like I think we were on our way like to like the secure place. And then I was like, I gotta go get this thing or whatever. We had to go back to the room. And when we had went back to the room, they were coming up there and I was, shoot. And they opened the door and it was a friend. Actually, it was like a crush or like it could have been a boyfriend at the time, but we were in middle school, like when we first met, like it was seventh grade. And we kind of had an ongoing thing, kind of like we always liked each other anyways, but nonetheless. So there was like this like familiarity with each other. And it was like kind of like romantic in a way. So yeah, we were just like, I was like, wait, I'm not going to say their name, but I was, like really surprised. And it was like automatically he was like, no, you're good. Like, you don't have to worry. And basically I was safe, right? Because of the connection. So, but then I like woke up, I think shortly after that. And I was just like, but just like the energy of the dream was very stressful, anxious, and it was borderline nightmare. And so the next dream, which was the following um, night or morning, whatever, I had a dream and it was basically at some point in the dream, I'm getting ready or I'm in the midst of like a road trip and I am getting everything together. Like we're packing up the car and my mother's there, my brother's there. I will note that I was going to be driving, which is what usually happens anyways on road trips. Like I'm usually, if I'm with my mom, I'm usually the one driving most of the time. And so that's what was happening. And then as we're packing up, I get this phone call and it's a staff member or a staff employee from my middle school, right? And so that brings me to that connection to the first dream. But so I'm on the phone with this staff person. And it wasn't like he wasn't like a principal, but kind of like up there, maybe like a VP. But not anyone that I could like really say their name. Um, and so we were talking, he was like, basically like, how are you doing? Like I was catching him up and, I didn't really want to talk to him. So I was saying things that I wouldn't usually say. Like, I don't know. I was just trying to get him off the phone or like offend him. So I was like, hey, so, like, I'm an astrologer. Do you know what astrology is? Like, I was just trying to be very controversial and I was sharing things. And I don't remember all the details of the conversation, but I remember that part. And then I remember at the end of the conversation, and I was like, this is like, I have a degree, like a bachelor's in astronomy, and this is how this came together, and like just weaving both of that. Right. And so then I get off the phone with him and whatever, we go on about the journey and like a lot of like there was more to the dream and we ended up somewhere else. But anyways, that was the most important part because when I woke up, I just couldn't get my middle school out of like my head. I was like, why did I have a dream? What's going on with my middle school? And like, what? Oh, I remember. I should back up. So when I was on the phone with him right before I hung up, he was like, who is this again? And I was like, we just spent the whole conversation talking. And I was like, then I remembered, I was like, oh, right. He's not going to know who Urania is. And I was like, this is Portia, which is my birth name, Portia Bazzani. And then I was like, oh, shoot, he's not going to remember Bazzani because that's my married last name. So then Suggs, which I freaking hate, my maternal or whatever, my maiden last name is Suggs, like Suggs. I hate it. And I can't believe I'm saying it live, but here I am. So I said that and whatever. And then we got off the phone. But that was like that whole situation. I was like, when I woke up, I'm like, that is so weird. But I felt really good because of how I was like, I'm an astrologer and like, but I thought it was funny. He was like, and then he was confused, like, who is this again that I'm talking to? And so the precognitive part of that, well, firstly, I felt really like I was curious about the middle school connection. I'm like, okay, I just had a dream about someone from middle school. Like we went to middle school and high school together. And then which I don't talk to at all. Like yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in like years, but um so there's no bad blood or anything is my point. But yeah, so that morning I had a parent teacher conference with my daughter's teacher and we were talking and she's having some things going on, but it makes sense in her astrology. And I've been thinking about this since the very first parent teacher conference. And she knows that I'm an astrologer. Like I'm pretty sure I brought that up like in the interview process if she was going to go to the school because it's Montessori. So it's like a whole private thing. Want to see if you're a good fit. And so this time we were talking and I was like, she was asking us about how we felt about things. And I was like, so this is going to be kind of out there. But I was like, I'm an astrologer, right? And she was like, yeah. And, then I went into no, and I was like, so I'm an astrologer. And she was like, yes. And she was like, oh, I actually looked into your website. Like, I love all that stuff. And it was just like, we kind of like clicked even more because she's very intuitive and I really like her. And that kind of like strengthened that connection. And then I went on to like my, interpretation of what's going on in her chart and like how that's reflected in her school environment and how she is. And when I left that meeting, I felt so confident and proud of myself. And I felt like that it like reflected the dream because I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna like, first of all, I like hopefully this gets him off the phone. I'm like, I'm an astrologer, right? And it was literally the same words. I didn't
That
plan it, it just happened. And I felt all day long, I felt so good. Oh no, I lost Alexis again. But I felt really good about myself. And it's been a long time coming as far as owning like who I am and like the work that I do. And even coming down to the car, as I've mentioned since the very beginning of my dream journey, the car symbol has been repetitive for me. And um also specifically in relation to my mother and my identity and navigating my own life and all of the things that the car represents. And so yeah, it was just a big win. Like the dream reflected to me like the personal growth and spiritual development and confidence that I have within myself. Because I'm always like concerned with like, I can't share this with people with like normies or muggles. And I don't really think her teacher is a muggle, but still that's like a very professional environment. And I'm like, I don't want her teacher to, judge me because, this is what I'm doing. And so the fact that I just said it as a matter of fact and like very professional, and it was received in that way, it was beautiful and it felt very precognitive. In that experience. So I'm really eager to hear what Alexis had to say because I was waiting to tell her about this. So wait. Oh my gosh, Alexis is back. Yes. Welcome back,
yeah.
Alexis.
Thank you.
Actually, we are recording a little add on to this a day
Mm-hmm.
later because we had some technical difficulties in our live chat. Alexis, your power went out and
Yeah.
then you lost your battery, your phone died.
Yes. So basically, I was sitting here listening to your conversation. All of a sudden, I like, and I don't know if you can see it in when you replay the video, but I'm like looking at my light because it's like very, very like softly flickering like a lot. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And then out of nowhere, everything just like shuts down. Like it's completely silent, dark. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. We were live. Why do you do this to me? You could have done this yesterday when I wasn't on live. And then I set up my phone to try to get back on, and like that was hilarious because I just had
That
one
was
flashlight shut.
amazing.
I had one flashlight shining on me. I was like pitch black with just like the light on my face. And I like lasted for maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes
It's
before my
about
phone.
20 minutes. It was
20
about
minutes,
20
yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
before it just totally
Yeah.
died, and I had to go sit in my car and charge my phone and be all mopey and sad because I couldn't be a part of the live chat
Mhm.
anymore.
Yeah. It was really awkward doing that without you. But if you guys want to watch the raw and uncut version, and it was so much fun because I saw you, I saw like a tiny flicker when I was replaying it back. And then your screen froze and it was just the picture, it was just you. And luckily it was flattering.
I
So
was gonna say, I hope it wasn't
yeah,
like
because
the
sometimes it can be
ugliest face
awkward. No, you
ever.
were just like it was almost, and so yeah, you were just really engaged, and then it just dropped off. So but then Alexis came back. So yeah, here we are a day later, and I have an interesting add-on to my precognitive experience, and also I'm excited to hear Alexis's perspective on what I shared. And so, as you all just heard, because you're just listening, that basically, in the dream, I was talking to my middle school, like, let's say, vice principal. He was definitely a higher up staff member. And, I was like, I'm an astrologer, which is a big deal for me because I have always been self-conscious about telling people that, whether it's like my mother or like anyone that's in the professional world, and so anyone with authority too. And so you all heard what happened yesterday, the day that we did the live. And so today, as we're doing this add-on here, earlier in the day, my daughter had an appointment with the doctor. And naturally, she was just asking us, like her and myself and her father, like what we did for work. And I was like, "Oh, I'm self-employed. I'm an astrologer." And she was like, "Oh, that's cool." So again, that replayed. But what was really interesting, and I just had this aha moment listening back to what I was sharing about my dream, that at the end of that conversation today, I wrapped it up by telling, the doctor, I was like, "Oh, and I have a BA in astronomy," which is what I did in the dream with my teacher, or with my, the staff member of my middle school. So I started out with astrologer, and I ended it with like, also, "Hey, I have a BA in astronomy." So I had another precognitive experience, and I just had the aha moment as right before we started recording. So
It's just so crazy how these, like, you can have a precognitive dream that's really, really big and really devastating or really like exciting, like something that it changes your life. And then you have these small bits of precognitive dreams where they show up in really interesting, bizarre ways that it's kind of like, what do you do with that information? And it's funny because I'm reading a book right now, the book that we got, and they talk about how like the perception of time is constructed. It's like what we've learned, but it's not necessarily what is quote unquote real. And it makes me think about the possibilities of jumping through timelines within the sleep space, and like you possibly having that connection to what was going on today a few days back when you had this dream. It just wasn't in full clarity. You got like bits and pieces. But that's just, it's so crazy. Like I get the chills every time these things happen, no matter
yeah,
how big or small. I get the chills because it's inexplainable. It's ineffable.
yeah.
And
And I was talking about this in the just briefly in the dream class that I taught a couple, or no, it was last weekend. And there is I guess they call it informational time travel, which is why I was really inspired to get into dream work recently, like to actually get into it, because it was more of like, do you want to kind of basically bridge your consciousness where you can um know, and I'm doing air quotes, know what the quote unquote right decision is, or you can make the right or make the decision that is in alignment with the outcome that you desire. And the way they were talking about that was, obviously through you could say reprogramming your subconscious mind, and also like through dream work, because when you pay attention to your dreams and also keep like a journal, not only are you recording your dreams but also recording synchronicities and aha moments like such as this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you will basically train your mind to pay attention to those things or invite more of that in. Right. And so it's just, especially because the emotion that's connected, we get so excited, we get confident, we get inspired. And, so that was what drew me into dream work. Honestly, I was like, I just want to make sure that like I know where I want to go. And so I want to be on the quote unquote best timeline. And they called it informational time travel in that way. So they're like, this is like, this is kind of like sci-fi fantasy, but this is a way that we could actually perceive like time travel in a sense. So when you said that,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I thought about.
It's just so interesting and exciting, and the possibilities are endless of what all of this could be or lead to, multi-dimensional time traveling, like what are there so many different ways to like ideas around what is actually going on when you go to sleep. And I think that's why it's so important to pay attention, why not have a personal history
Mm-hmm.
of your sleeping experiences? Why not get familiar with that? I think one of the quotes that I just actually read in this book by Robert L. uh, Van D. Castle. I always want to say Van Lee Castle. I don't know why, but it's basically like let me see if I can find it. I know I highlighted it, and I'm not that far into the book. Whatever. It is something along the lines of you were basically born with this like infinite dreamscape. Why not like completely indulge in it?
Yeah.
Why why let it drift away when it can be so important to your day-to-day existence?
Yeah.
And I really just hearing this dream that you have, not only just the precognitive, but like listening to the whole thing, the first dream you were in danger, you were in fear, you were being raided, there was somebody out to get everybody, and you found a familiar person who basically saved you from this demise. And this person was back from this middle school period, and then in the second one this vice principal was also during that period. So it makes me think, okay, well, was there a period of time during your middle school experience where something happened that correlates to a big lesson that you're, on the precipice of, or, a cycle that's ending? And on top of that, the names, like the different names that you kind of addressed, would you call them dead names?
I don't know. I don't know what I would call them, to be
Like for
honest.
you personally, I know when people
Oh, I
change
would
their
definitely
name.
want my maiden name to be a
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like it's so weird. I have, like with my ex-husband's name, I liked it, but there's like a lot of history and energy with that because of the relationship, and obviously like it didn't work out. So there's that. And then with my maiden last name, I don't know. There's not really any bad like juju or any bad energy there. But it just when I think about myself then with that last name, I just maybe I was running from myself. I feel if anything, it's a call for integrating
Oh,
like
for
all of that.
sure. But
Um,
not only that, I feel like it's a recognition
mhm.
of the person that you have become.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you're going over all these names that aren't a part of you anymore. And
Right.
you're a completely different person. And
Yeah.
that's why I kind of was like, well, maybe there is something lingering during that time period where
Yeah,
you
that's a good
were in
point.
middle school that pertains to your development at this point in your life, like a cycle that's about to end that you just kind of need to dive a little deeper into.
Yeah. I could see that's definitely, ooh, I'm gonna have to sit with that. I pulled the Hermit card today. So like for the
Ooh.
incoming energy. So that's gonna be the weekend. Like I want to sit with that. And but you did mention this, I think earlier today too, just in our personal conversations about is there, a cycle that is closing, and there is, like, especially in reference to my experiences with Pluto conjoin my natal sun in Aquarius. So I've had this happen 3 times because of the retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
And so this final time, which is like it's always happens like right on my birthday because I'm at 0 degrees Aquarius. And so it's like soon as the sun
Wait,
gets,
you're at 0 degrees Aquarius?
yeah,
Wait, because I'm pretty sure my sister is also at zero
yeah.
degrees
Because we're
Aquarius.
we're basically the cusp. So that's like usually the 19th or the 20th is the
Yeah,
transition.
she's zero
And
degrees
yeah.
too. That's so funny.
Yeah. So she should be having some major things happening right now. But
I think she
nonetheless,
is.
yeah.
I think she
Nonetheless,
is for sure.
yeah, so this is the like now we're going to be in the clear. So this birthday is still entangled with Pluto. And then 2026, finally we're starting a year of like we've made the metamorphosis, and now we're really, and I can already see that in many different ways. I've seen 2026 pop up where there's like a clearing, just even like financially with like
Oh
looking
yeah.
at my credit stuff and like the things that I have going on. I'm like 2026 is going to be interesting. So yeah, that all makes sense. And thank you. Oh, one other thing too. I don't know if you heard this part, but I thought it was also interesting that it involved like travel, and like there was a car involved because I was prepping, and that cars
Oh
have been, kind of a thing, especially in reference to my identity and all of this, like my confidence, my identity, speaking my truth.
yeah.
And so it was interesting that I was like, I was definitely driving, I was in control, and like I was packing and preparing. So it was like preparing for like this journey, right? So whatever the next phase is, I feel like that was coming into. So it was an amazing dream, and I didn't even really think about it like that until I had that precognitive moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to sit with this dream.
Yeah, and not only that, you were in control of that first experience in the car, and then you were in control of the phone call.
Yep.
So like I just feel like
Yeah.
these dreams were so indicative of your growth and who you are and how far you've come and just everything coming together. And yeah, like I said, like there's just this end of cycle that's coming through and it's showing, and I am excited.
Ew. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here with some cards, with a card
Yep.
reading for the new season. And I know I'm going to do an oracle. Are you pulling
Mhm.
from your new deck?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull
Okay.
from my new deck the Deleted World Tarot, and I think I'm only gonna do one
Okay.
just to keep it
All
sweet and short.
right. I think you should go first, and then we'll wrap it up with the
Okay.
oracles,
All
or
right,
with
I'm just
a
gonna
oracle.
do a very quick shuffle. And if nothing pops out right away, I'll just stop it and pull from the top because sometimes it can take a long time to jump for
Yeah, they
me.
do. No, that happens to me. Whenever I'm on camera, it takes forever.
And I'm like sitting there like embarrassed, like come on, do something.
Right? Like
Um,
doo doo doo.
oh,
I have
okay.
a flip right over. Yeah.
So this is what got pulled. Can you see that?
A little bit.
Imagination.
Ooh, is that a black cat? Is that the one with the black cat?
Yep.
Nice.
Did you pull this
No,
card
but it
when
was
we?
like, I think it was one of my favorites when I was
Because
looking at
I
your deck.
remember this came up when we were at the yurt.
Yeah. It was definitely drew my attention, the cat.
It might have been mischief
Ooh.
though, instead of imagination.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I love this visual. Like if you guys, I'll post a photo of this on our Instagram
Yeah.
when we do our post tomorrow because the visuals are just
Oh,
incredible.
yeah.
Alrighty. So this is the Seven of Glitches. It's under the sign of Venus. It's under ruled by the planet Venus under the sign Scorpio, and it's a water card. Two black cats dance amidst cascading petals in a surreal twisting hallway. Windows reveal hidden flowers and a watchful white kitten. This card, infused with the allure of Venus and the intensity of Scorpio, embodies the playful and unpredictable nature of creativity, urging you to explore the boundaries of reality and imagination. Imagination, creativity, inspiration, and vision. When the Seven of Glitches appears upright, it invites you to tap into the boundless potential of your imagination. Embrace the creative spark that Venus and Scorpio ignite within you and allow your visions to take form in a malleable fabric of the worlds. Trust in your ability to manifest the impossible. So right off the bat, I love that because if you guys don't know, yesterday when we were recording, not only was it the new moon in Aquarius, but it was also the lunar new year. And I had briefly talked about how there was a shift. And one of the shifts that I've found is that I was having a really difficult time creating art. And I'm feeling that inspiration again. It's building up. It's like this is finally the new year. This is finally the beginning of beginnings. And I just feel like that card was so on point. And it's an interesting it's interesting the combination of Venus and Scorpio.
Hmm.
I don't know if I know anyone. No, I do. Both my parents.
I was gonna say.
Both. I was like, for a second, I was like, wait.
I was looking at you like I was waiting for it to hit. I was like, you don't, do
Like,
you?
wow, Venus and Scorpio, that sounds crazy. And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
No,
because
it
it
is.
is.
Well, it made me think about how we mentioned this coming weekend, February 1st, with all the Venus activity and even that keyword
Yes.
imagination and just really diving deep into that, like the Lulu, just enjoying
Yes.
yourself and like just feel good. And I know there's like so much going on in the world and it's hard to like allow yourself to feel good, but use that as an escape. Like you can have one day, you can have 1 hour,
Yes.
just like allow yourself to have that and indulge and just like whatever you can do to feel into that Venus energy is amazing.
Absolutely. And this last sentence, trust in your ability to manifest the impossible, just reminds me of
Yeah.
precognitive dreams.
Yeah, definitely like pay attention. Like I would do dream incubation, which I plan to do actually. And I'm glad it's on a weekend, so it's more than likely going to happen because I always plan and then I'm like, oh shoot, whoops. I'm laying in bed and I'm
I'm the
like,
same
oh
way.
no.
I'm the
But this
same
time
way.
I'm gonna also we're gonna be accountability buddies,
Yes,
Alexis, with this.
I
And
need
so
that. I think I'm gonna because I don't know if you mentioned this last night. I'm trying to remember, but you had talked about writing a letter to your dreamscape or your dream self.
yeah.
I think I might try that this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I'm gonna rewrite my story, like, especially coming out of this precognitive dream. Like I wanted to start today, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna really honor this hermit energy and take time to write my story, and then I'm gonna put it under my bed and probably ask for guidance on like what are the next best steps to, merge or just bring forth this experience, right? So,
Yep.
because I feel like I'm already there. And I know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is just like being it. Like I already feel the answer is just like you're already you are there.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
just be, and not
Yeah.
overthink it. So wow, maybe that's the answer. But I'm gonna asked for an oracle here from Pure Magic Oracle deck.
Oh, I love
So we'll
that.
see. I'm also just going to see what falls out. What do we need to know for this new moon? Oh, something wanted to and it hesitated.
I had that a couple
Okay.
times too.
Oh, wow. This is on point for the year, the lunar year.
Oh,
Snake
oh my
skin.
goodness.
Wow. All
Wow.
right. So, information, secrets, body language, and senses are the keywords. The number on this card is 20. So, oh, that's my birthday. My birthday day. I'm like, if that
Yes.
number means anything to you, it does to me. All right. So, let's see what the book has to say about this. So where are we? Okay. So, I believe this is under, yeah, this is under the fire element. So right now we have fire and water. So we have both those dualities,
Mm-hmm.
or we have that duality. So the snake is the animal most associated with Earth's wisdom, as in its natural state, its entire body is in constant connection with Earth. Many ancient traditions believe that snakes could transmit Earth's secrets and knowledge to people should they choose. The ancient Romans considered snakes to be particular allies of human women, healing and empowering them and encouraging proper functioning of both body and psychic aptitude. So the wisdom of this, and it goes more on to like the snake symbolism, but I'll save that for another time. So the pure wisdom here, the guidance is you are wrapped in the conditions of society, and the snake approaches for you to question which of these conditions no longer serve you. Are you tame, in quotes, among the crowd, or are you comfortable to stand outside the pack? Approach new ventures with steady confidence and be ready to strike your creative power at the right opportunity. Or, I'm sorry, approach new ventures with steady confidence and be ready to strike your creative power at the right opportunity. Show your love and care with courage, and the snakes will wow. Whew, words today. Show your love and care with courage, and the snakes will reward your boldness with fortune. Now is the time to worry about what you now is not the time to worry about what you hear. Body language reveals more about how truly we care for one another than words ever could. The language of love is not just in the words, but in kindness shown with action. Interesting.
I love that because when I was talking about my dreams last night, or yeah, last night when we were live, I was talking about my dreams. I had said that there was um a very serious introspective like lesson that I had to learn, but there was also a combination of like comedy and lightness and like mischievousness. And I feel like the snake representing like rebirth and growth, and then cats
Yeah,
representing that mischievousness. I feel like it
love
plays a
that.
role in something that we should something we should pay attention to and work with is growing, like facing our shadow, growing, allowing ourselves and what we don't need to die in us to be reborn, but also with lightness too, because that heaviness can really, really, really take it out of us. So allowing a little bit of lightness and fun to come through to help us with that journey.
Absolutely. All right. So I feel like we feel complete with what we've shared, and I'm so glad we were able to do this add-on because I wanted to share your insights on what my dream was conveying or what you picked up from that. And I really wanted to also connect with your deck because I love it so much. So thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this too, because I just felt so incomplete with yesterday's episode, like bouncing off and on and off and not being able to finish it. I just felt like I felt incomplete and not as connected to it as I wanted to be for obvious reasons. So I
Right.
appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So we're going to wrap it up here. I just want to share that I'm going to be teaching a dream class on February 9th online, and it's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And this dream or this class is going to be on weaving the dreams with astrology. And so you'll learn how to interpret the symbolism of dream planets, dream houses, planetary cycles in relation to your dreams. You'll also learn how to utilize the transits as channels for guidance and healing through your dreams, and essentially how to connect with the planets through your dream space as well, like directly communing with them. And then finally, you will learn more about yourself through these astrological signatures in reference to the dreams in your birth chart. So that again is going to be on February 9th. And the link to register and just learn more, read more information is going to be in the description of the video and on Spotify.
That sounds like it's going to be an
Yeah,
incredible
I'm
class.
really excited. I'm really
I'm
excited.
excited for you. I'm like, maybe I should, maybe I should take it.
So also, if you all want to share a dream with us, you can always feel free to email us at theinnerversepodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can, pop us a message or share with us a message on Instagram through our DMs. Just share your dream there or ask us any questions. Yeah. So I feel like that's everything, right?
I feel complete. I feel like this was really, really good.
All right, everyone. Happy new moon, happy new lunar year, all those things.
Yes. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.